Is this rolling? Do I
No.
have to hit record?
Yeah, it's normal podcast stuff.
Where? How do I hit record?
How do you normally do it?
I have no idea. Seriously?
What?
This is a great start.
Well, this is a normal podcast, right? Just like you would do a normal one.
Okay.
You're so rolling. You're rolling.
Rolling so hard.
Mine's still buffering.
Oh
5,
my
4,
God.
3, 2. Well, we get a countdown. We're pro. Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is our first video edition.
Yeah, trying out video podcast.
I mean, really, we're up here setting the Bend Racing Expedition Oregon course, and I've been looking at Darren, I've been looking at our media guy Keegan, I've been looking at my wife, I like to do that, and I'm just like, who cares about the race? We're just a group of really attractive
yeah,
people.
just a bunch of good-looking people running
Like-
around the woods.
Running around the woods, getting muddy. I'm trying to grow Darren's beard. I'm just failing at it miserably. It kind of looks scraggly. But so regardless, we realized that we're attractive enough that everybody probably wants to see us and not just hear our kind of sultry voices.
Mhm.
So what did? We sent the entire other team out to have coffee and burritos so that we could hog the spotlight.
The actual good-looking people.
Yeah, we did. We come to think of it, we did send all the good-looking people away. So anyway, this is a test. Think of this as a test, and then we don't want you to be too distracted.
Yeah.
That's why we sent them away.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
you'd be distracted, you wouldn't listen to anything we had to say.
Yeah.
So now you'll probably just turn the video off and
Right,
just
go
listen
back to the audio podcast.
Anyway, welcome to the Bend Racing Podcast. We'll probably throw in a little music thing here
Yeah.
or there or somewhere. Right. But this episode is going to be about the upcoming Expedition Oregon
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a few other things because we like to digress.
Right.
But mostly we want to get people excited. We are all here. Where are we?
We're in White Salmon, Washington right now. Half the team is over in Hood River getting coffee. At my kind of home base of operations, and it'll be kind of the home base of the race organization when race starts.
And to set the scene, because you won't all get to visit here. Hopefully you do at some point. Darren, he lives in White Salmon, but he lives up in the forest outside of White Salmon.
Just
and
outside of town.
There's this old ghetto house. It's kind of, I can say that,
I
right?
would say cabin.
It's an old cabin kind of house.
Really nice in the 1920s.
And he didn't even live in it for a while. He rented it out to people, and then he lived in a Sprinter.
At first it was the Sprinter, and then the Airstream, and then the bus.
Yeah, so those things are still all here. So there is, if you come to visit, like
Yeah.
you'll be given the option to stay in the Airstream.
I have spare bedrooms.
Darren sleeps in the bus, not in the house.
Yeah.
Right, he still sleeps in his bus. His Sprinter is getting fixed somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, there's all these old cars. Like you're an adventure racer, but you like old cars.
Yeah, I also tinker from time to time, and I'm at a place where I have room to tinker.
Right, which means there's an old 1980s Suburban.
Yeah, 83 Suburban. That's there is a 1972 GMC pickup, a 1968 Chevrolet pickup, a 1963 AMC Rambler American wagon, 330 trim package if you're curious.
I'm not, but
What else? Oh, my van, of course, and the bus, and the
Airstream.
Airstream. Did I miss one? Oh yeah, and my newest addition. Oh no,
This is such a.
amateur.
Okay, I'm shutting it off. Okay, there we go.
The newest edition is a Stewart and Stevenson. Was it M10898 whatever, 6-ton or 5-ton?
It's an army truck.
Yeah.
It's a giant army truck with a crane on it. It is the least practical vehicle I've ever seen in real life.
Yeah,
But it's awesome.
but it's pretty cool.
Right. So when you do come out and visit Darren, if he's showing you around, you're going to go on an adventure somewhere, you're going to drive a ghetto vehicle, like
You're gonna drive a unique vehicle.
a unique vehicle somewhere. Yes. None of his vehicles are fit for road tripping, unless you lived in 1950.
My van, kind of.
No.
What?
Where's your van right now?
Well, it's just the transmission's being rebuilt.
Right.
As I put 400,000 miles on it, it needs a little love.
Yeah, right. Okay, so anyway, that's why we're here. That's to set the scene. There are also, to set even more of the scene, like we came back here and we've been gone for a week at this
Mhm.
Acrobatics Festival. We visited, we came back, and now he'd torn up his floorboard because there were bees underneath it.
Yeah, there were yellow jackets, and after they'd stung me several times, I got upset and took a crowbar to their home.
So now the floor of the entryway is just like boards and dirt, which is cool.
It looks like a plank, so your kids will love it.
And last time we were here, he had just killed a bear
Mm-hmm.
because the bear was killing the chickens.
It was killing the chickens.
He like lured the bear in and shot the bear.
Well, baiting animals is illegal.
Right. So no, you didn't lure them in. You just like it went into the chicken coop.
It went into the
and
chicken coop.
You killed it. You defended your chickens.
Yeah, I defended my chickens.
But I guess there was like a bear carcass hanging, and you skinned it, and now we have bear meat.
Oh well, not yet, but we will.
Yeah. Anyway, so don't tell. That's I don't know if that's illegal, but he was defending. You were defending yourself. It was self-defense.
Yeah.
I swear. But anyway, this bear. So yeah, Darren is like a mountain man, and with a penchant for old cars. So it's really fun to be here and hang out for quite a while. But that was a big segue.
Yeah. You didn't even mention the goats because they're not here right now, but they will.
Oh yeah, his goats and chickens and yeah, it's a pretty wild place. And some of the teams coming to Expedition Oregon, especially the dirtbag teams that don't want to rent a hotel in the bougie Hood River, will probably. I know the Fear Youth team. They're just like, we want a ghetto camp American style, so they're going to be right next to the goats.
Supernova will be here.
Supernova will be here. So some of the teams coming to Expedition Oregon will. I'm not going to say this will be, the best choice to like enter the race like super calm and clean because you won't be. There's an outdoor shower though.
There's an outdoor shower.
Yeah. You might have to fight a bear the morning of the race.
Yeah, there's still 2 bears running around.
And you also can't ride your bikes across the bridge, so you have to like swim the river. And it's a big river, so there's lots of downsides to being over here if you're a racer, but it'll be a unique experience.
It's an option.
It is an option. There is plenty of land if you bring a tent. So, Expedition Oregon racers or people for future events out here in the White Salmon area, this is a sweet place. You should definitely come and get a glimpse into the life of Darren Steinbach.
Yeah.
I said that right, Darren Steinbach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually say Steinbeck because
Yeah.
it's like a famous author, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But there's no K in my name.
Okay, so if you've made it through the preamble, we are now going to talk pretty detailed about Expedition Oregon. Because we have been here, we've been going through the course with the volunteers, the logistics lead, the safety, doing some tests out in the wind about how we're going to rescue you people when the Columbia turns into a windy war zone.
I mean, we haven't announced that yet. People might have guessed that they're going to be on the Columbia, but
Yeah. So let's just go through. You're going to get this in the newsletter, and if you're not racing, get ready for some legit FOMO. If you don't know what FOMO means, it means fear of missing out.
Yeah.
And for all the fans, we invite you. We're going to do Expedition Oregon in 2025 in Central Oregon in May, but it's going to be a high desert race. We guarantee no snow, but
you shouldn't guarantee that.
Okay, 99% guaranteed no snow. But anyway, it's been really fun crafting courses as an art form, and this is going to be a spectacular course.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on it. I designed the original course, and Jason and I have been going over it, and refining it.
And making it better every day.
It literally gets better every day.
Some of you will wish that we'd stuck with the original plan that was shorter.
Yeah.
So, stage 1. What's stage 1?
Giant bike ride.
It's the bike ride, and the should be capitalized.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of biking in this course, but this race is going to start out with a absolutely spectacular bike ride. So spectacular that we don't think you can handle it, and so we're doing it at night.
Yeah.
The race is going to start at night.
It's
close to night.
It's going to start in the evening.
Right.
You'll be riding through the night. There's no we can race to get ahead of the sun.
We are going to give you some really spectacular sunset views. The way the race starts out, you're going to get some spectacular sunset views.
And maybe for some of you, some sunrise views.
Hopefully not too many. But it's a huge ride. It is, are you ready for this? It is, I think it's 90 miles, roughly. Like, depending on how, it's an adventure race, so people tend to tack on distances.
Right. It's probably between 80 and 90 miles.
No, I think it's at least 90 miles.
But probably at least 90 miles.
9,000 feet of elevation gain in this one, right off the bat. I mean, you are in the Columbia River Gorge. If you've never been there or aren't even coming, look it up. It's a giant gorge. It's like a huge gorge.
You can't go anywhere here without going up.
Yeah, and you're basically starting in the gorge, and so you're going up. But the joy is, within this 90-mile bike ride, you're going to gain 9,000 feet of elevation. You are also going to lose. I think you actually lose
more, don't you?
A little bit more. Yes, you actually lose a little bit more elevation. So you're going to lose over 9,000 feet of elevation. Which, if you really think about it, that means you're going to gain those 9,000 feet of elevation in roughly 40 something miles,
Mm-hmm.
which I'll let you to do the math. But yeah, there's going to be a fairly consistent grade. And it's all rideable, 100% rideable. We tested it with Chelsea. Everybody can ride the same as Chelsea.
Yeah, the World Championship rider.
Yeah, so, I mean, basically, she rode the entire thing, didn't walk a step. Well, except when she went into private property, people and yeah. But
that was early days in the course.
Yeah, when we didn't know what was public and where people would shoot you. So we're gonna avoid those areas. But yeah, it's a big ride, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's so beautiful. There's a lot of single track in there. It's a little bit of pavement, but primarily gravel, like really high quality gravel roads.
Well, and even the pavement, like some of it is going to be through some really cool areas.
Yeah. And then a lot of single track up high, super classic mountain biking for this area. I won't say where.
Yeah,
I don't want you to go.
Super classic mountain biking and super classic gravel grinding.
Yeah, but that's a big thing. And stage 2. So then you're gonna get somewhere, and then stage 2, I think stage 2. I think there's going to be a lot of favorite stages, but stage 2 is one of my favorite because I've always wanted to craft something like this in adventure race.
Yeah.
Because when we started adventure racing, we'd always plan these like too much fun trips, is what we call them, or these big expeditions where there was no race, there was no support, so you kind of did it all on your own. But this is what we call the multi-sport, stage, essentially the bike rafting type. So you're going to be paddling, you're going to be biking, you're going to be climbing, like actual rock climbing, you're going to be orienteering, and those all are going to be intermixed in this one stage.
Yeah, so you're going to get your gear at the beginning, and you're going to have your bins at the end. You're going to do all these things
without getting any more resupplies.
Yeah.
Which means you will be carrying your bikes on your boat, and at some point your boats on your bike, right? You will also be stopping to climb. You will also be doing a foot orienteering section on this. And traveling through a bunch of different landscapes as you go from one side of the gorge to the other side of the gorge and then beyond to kind of start the second phase of the race that is outside of the gorge proper. But the hard thing about this stage is the views. Now you'll be doing this daytime. In fact, you have to do this during daytime because a bunch of these areas close at night.
Yeah.
Which hence, if you work backwards, is why we're starting the race at night. Right, so that you can get through the first stage and then get this second stage, which we've gained access to these areas that are hard to permit, but the caveat is it's daytime only.
It took me over 6 months to get the permits for that second stage.
Yeah.
I started in October. We got our signed permit a week ago, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago.
And so that's been really fun to explore that, knowing it's going to happen. It's going to have these really unique areas. There's going to be like Native American petroglyphs. There's going to be just such the history of the Columbia Gorge. This classic rock climbing area, also with petroglyphs, like these old ranches. I mean, it's really like a history lesson through the gorge with adventure travel.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, right? There'll be some elevation, but it won't be anything compared to that first stage.
Yeah, it'll be tough because you'll be on tired legs, but not that tough.
And the start of that stage is paddling the Columbia. Right, which in a pack raft with a bike on it.
Yeah.
Which
is not the recommended way to travel in the gorge, but I've done it. Yeah. I've done it in my everyday life.
Yeah, and Darren often, one of the things that inspired this is there's a bridge that goes from White Sandland to Hood River. Hood River is the kind of the more bougie town. It's the world famous windsurfing, kite surfing, foiling. All the wind powered water sports are there because the gorge basically creates its own wind almost every day.
Yeah.
And it happens to be going upriver, which is really convenient if you're kite surfing or whatever, because you're not traveling too far downriver. You kind of get in this neutral place. It's shallow waters in areas, and it just when you come and visit, if you go out on a semi-windy day, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of kites and parasails but I heard about this that there's a bridge that you can drive across, but you can't ride your bike across it.
And you can't always drive across it.
And so it's often closed, but if he goes into Hood River to drop his car off at a shop, like it is now, his way to get home will be to drive his car across, right, with his bike and his pack raft, blow up his pack raft, put his bike on it, paddle across the Columbia River, lash your boat to your bike and ride way up the hill to where he lives in the forest.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of inspiration for being able to do this. Plus, when we looked at the logistics of being able to move gear, like if any of those bridges close, like if a big barge is coming through the Columbia and they raise the bridges, then we can't get your gear to you.
Yeah.
So we just created this awesome multi-sport event.
Yeah.
And so that's, and you know, that may be the coolest, easiest paddle you've done in an adventure race. It could also be literally impossible.
Yeah. You'll wanna make sure on the ride you get to the next transition area early in the morning.
Yeah, the winds tend to build in the afternoon. Not always the case. There's anomalies, but consistently the calmer time, which means then you'll be going paddling downriver, and with little wind. And Darren and I tested this leg in a small tandem pack raft, super old alpaca canoe, on a windy day, and it's very possible if you're a smart paddler, but it is hard.
It's tough.
Yeah, you're at times paddling full strength and moving like 1 mile an hour as the waves are slapping against your boat and throwing spray into you, so competitors, take note. Like if you can make it, it's like if you can make it across the Columbia, there's this awesome easy course waiting in front of you. Not easy, but like it's not a potential race stopper for your team.
No. The worst part is you're going to be in some cheat grass. Your socks are going to get clogged up with.
Oh yeah, on the orienteering course.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. One of the great things about especially the areas around the gorge on either side is, if anybody that followed the Faroe Islands race, like the terrain is super rugged, but the forest is often not there. It's just like, so you have the vision. It's just these heather, I don't know what it is, like I don't know, cheetgrass, but what's the hillsides are just bare.
Yeah, it's
right?
just
Or grass.
Grassy. It looks like the plains, but it's on a steep hillside.
Yeah, and so you really get views of the gorge and the majesty and the mountains. You can see Mount Hood and Mount Adams, and I don't know, there's so many giant volcanoes looming in the distance, covered in snow and glaciers. So it's a really spectacular place to be racing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You do a big hill climb. It's hot. You get up to the top, and all of a sudden there's the Columbia with a barge going by, and Mount Hood or Mount Adams in the background.
And trains. It's like, I don't know. It's every time I get out there, it's hard to, our time estimates may seem very forgiving. That's because I always stop when I'm testing the course to look around. I'm like, oh my God, look at that. Or maybe to breathe because I'm trying to keep up with Chelsea. But stage 3. So that's stage 2.
Stage 2.
Yeah, stage 3 is a big pack raft trek.
I'd say that's going to be the roughest section, I think.
I think it's going to be the roughest, but it's so beautiful. You're going from this giant canyon into much tighter topography with equally stunning and rugged, super steep, but you're basically going to be doing a big trek, and then finishing. I mean, we're not going to say too much. There may be some river crossings within this trek that you need to blow up your pack rafts for, depending on what you want to do, but you will be carrying your pack rafts and doing a big trek, and then the finish of that stage is going to be a really nice class 1-2 paddle.
The paddle isn't the tough part. The paddle is going to be, you're going to be happy to be on moving water.
Super moving water, splashy, but not stressful.
It'll be stressful if you're doing it at night.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do it at night.
It's a beautiful course. Like every time I see, you've been in this kind of, not desolate, but this more grass, kind of more dry, and then you come into this river canyon, and it's just like green and, I don't know, narrow, from the Columbia that's what? A quarter mile wide?
The river's a mile wide.
Okay, yeah. So
then the walls are another several miles.
Yeah, so you're coming from the Columbia, that's kind of like the Yukon. It's a mile wide river, and then paddling that, and then your next paddle section is on this fast flowing, easy river that's maybe 100 feet wide.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be these huge, and you won't have your bike on your boat. But you won't have your bike on your boat,
but you're going to have trekked with your boat on your back for a while.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've decided, and we'll be going out in the next newsletter, is we've had a lot of discussion, and if you've listened to these podcasts, you know that, you know, we did Expedition Ozark, and one of the things that we talked about after that race was safety and risk tolerance. And you know, the recap of in that race, they didn't have a dark zone on the rivers, and they said you can paddle at night, but then they gave this big speech about how safe everything was. And to me, as a competitor and a race director, I'm like, there's a bit of that that's a lie. Like, you can't let people paddle moving water at night, right, and say it's safe. Like,
right.
It can be safe if you have the right team, but the race director can't be responsible for that. Like, we cannot, like, they couldn't have, we can't get to you when it's dark and you don't pay attention and you go into a sweeper. Like, that's how are you going to react? We're not there, right? We might be able to get to you in an hour, 2 hours, maybe longer. But if you're going to paddle at night on a moving river, and really even out in the ocean, like, you need to have a plan with your team, and you need to have the skills, or you need to wait until the light comes, right? There's just no other way to look at it. So in this section, we're going to allow you to paddle at night. We paddle at night. We feel confident in being able to do it. There are not that many obstacles, but if you know, there's a lot easier ways to get stuck at night, right? Because you can't see. So having a lighting system, you know, all those things, and we're also implementing our sleep card there.
Yeah. So because, you know, not just in this podcast, but between ourselves, we talk about risk and who the onus is on and who's responsible for safety. We want to not take away that from the racer, but we also want to have the racers have the opportunity to feel like they can make good decisions without sacrificing their race.
Right. And so within this section, there will be a sleep card instituted, so on this pack raft track. So teams that are more nervous about paddling at night will have the ability to, you know, mitigate some of that by either choosing, okay, we're going to push a little extra hard now and trek and then sleep, or we're going to sleep now so that we get this trek done at night and then paddle mostly during the day, because you can always sleep more than that. But there'll be, I think we decided on a 4-hour sleep card.
So it's a sleep card, but it's a stop for 4 hours.
Or 2-hour sections.
Or 2 hours, yeah.
And you have to do that at a manned spot, but it's also organized. We've added a manned place to after like the first 4 miles of river, which is pretty easy, so that if a team is paddling at night, they get on, they're super pumped, they're like, oh, this is going to be easy. They get on at night, they're going to paddle the first 3 or 4 miles, and then there's going to be a manned checkpoint, which is a viable sleep card place.
Yeah.
Which means they can decide as a team, like, ooh, that felt a little too edgy, or that was the easy part with the trail right next to it, like, maybe we don't want to paddle at night. And they can pull over and sleep, right? And still have that credit toward the sleep card. So they're not, because we've had races before, even Eco Challenge Fiji, where you had the sleep card system, but if something happened and you weren't at a designated spot, you felt like you couldn't sleep because you're sacrificing your race. So we wanted to make it smart, that there's going to be several options of where to sleep that make sense and they're easy to get to. But we also know that at the timing in the race, that's going to be when every team, even the top teams, need sleep.
Yes.
Right? And we just looked at the ramifications of allowing people to paddle at night, which we wanted to have. But if teams have not slept for 40 hours and they're trying to push through this, right?
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's already dangerous.
Moving water at night is dangerous, right? Yeah. But it's definitely, you know, there are a lot of really skilled teams coming to this year's Expedition Oregon, and I certainly would feel totally comfortable paddling this at night. But I also have been in the pack raft for a lot, trust my team, have a system around how we're going to bail and how we're going to read the river at night.
Yeah.
But if you're new to pack rafting, enjoy a sleep.
Yeah.
On us.
Yeah. Take some time. Know that, you know, you're not going to take that much of a hit because everyone's going to take their 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
You know, just make good decisions.
Yep. Okay, so you finish that, and then you have the bike ride part 2. Part 2. Another big bike ride. This one's almost all gravel.
Yeah.
Right? This is like a big classic gravel grinder. Lots of route choices. Some really bad route choices, some really good route choices, but big gravel covering a lot of distance. kind of going into a different ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
you're starting to come from the east side of the Cascades to the west side of the Cascades, and there's like a very dramatic difference in the terrain, the weather.
Cooler, more shade, right? More water, essentially, you know, and there will be at least one or two little towns, little remote Washington towns that if you're passing at the right time have great milkshakes.
Yeah, huckleberry milkshakes.
Yeah.
So if you've never had huckleberries, come out and have some of our huckleberry milkshakes.
Oh, there'll also be berries in a lot of this course. Mm-hmm. Like there'll be blackberries, blueberries, and all kinds of stuff. So you'll be able to pick those if you want during the race. But yeah, you'll do this big ride, and you know that may for some people feel like a bit of a grind, but it's really beautiful. Lots of ups and downs. It's not as hilly as the previous ones. There's definitely some hills, but you do pass through a few remote towns, and there's a cave.
Yeah, we're working on the logistics of it still, but there should be a cave that we can go into.
And this is not like a public cave. This is like a private owned cave that they used to actually use in the cheese making industry.
Yeah, right. To age cheese once it's been cheesed.
So it's nice and cool in there. There's just some super cool. The environment's going to radically change, right? And you're going to be right up against some beautiful mountains. You're going to be much higher elevation, right, out there. And
still not crazy high, but way better, way higher than the sea level that you start off.
Guarantee there's going to be no snow in this race.
Yeah.
99%, unless there's a freak September snowstorm.
Yeah, that'd be real, especially with how hot it's been.
But the temps it'll be cool at night, not cold by any means, but and then from there you kind of have the test piece, or what we think is going to be the deciding stage of the race, right? That is a massive trek section, right? And that will have more challenging navigation. Most of those points will be optional, which will allow teams to kind of selectively choose, towards our time cutoff for the final stages. Because you're still, this is the most remote point of the course.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's plenty of remoteness in the course, but like, there will be a cutoff after which you have to kind of like get through this, this stage, and so you have to make some selections on how far out you go.
Yeah, and to kind of elaborate on that, there haven't been up until this point very many time cutoffs. Like we've got to be out of one of the first sections during the day, but we can fudge that a little bit.
Yeah.
We're kind of trying to let people self-move them along the course. This is where it's like, okay, if you're not making it in time, this is where you need to make adjustments, especially you want to make it to the last section.
Yeah, and you need to get onto the last two sections. The great thing is, by this point you're up high, and so much of the last two sections is downhill.
Yeah.
And there's still big sections, but there's like a ton of downhill.
Yeah, you're going to lose a lot of elevation in the last
but there will be a time at which we suggest you start on the final two stages, so that you can still experience the rope section, the final rope section, and the guided whitewater section.
The last day and a half of the race is some of my, this is what I'm excited to have people come out and experience.
Right.
So if you're
so fun.
If you're having a hard time, or you're falling behind, or even if it's like you're really not making it through the course, like you want to make it to those sections.
Yeah. But that said, that trek is also exciting for those of you that have this adventurous spirit and heart. That is going to be the most. There's a lot of rugged terrain, but that's going to be the most remote, rugged, some of the least explored terrain in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, like when you look at these areas and when you research them, people say like, nobody goes there. It's easy to get lost and disappear there.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, let's go there. So.
Yeah. So, so you might disappear for a while.
Yeah.
And we'll see nobody. Maybe at night you might see some headlamps in the distance, but that's a pretty big maybe.
Yeah. You might get wet. There are a ton of alpine lakes. There's lava. There's mountains. There's lots of old trails, lots of overgrown stuff. So it's going to be quite a test for tired minds, especially the top teams that are trying to clear this course and win the race. Like, they're going to need to have slept to navigate this section, and it's potentially 18 to 24 hours on your feet for that leg. And then last two legs, you have a huge mountain bike.
Yep.
But mostly downhill.
Mostly downhill. You'll have to go over.
But a lot of single track.
A lot of single track.
And right in the middle of that leg, or actually closer to the beginning of that leg, is a huge climbing section. Awesome.
Yeah. Really cool area.
Easy climbing, but up this big, I think it's granite, limestone? I can't remember.
It is.
Limestone.
Is it limestone? I thought it was some sort of granite. We should have looked at it.
I don't know. We'll let you know. But it's this huge slab that sticks up above the forest. It's not many people climb out there, but it's well established as a climbing area, so everything will be super safe. Rigged with bolts. You'll be doing a top rope solo.
That's where we're doing the ascension.
Yeah. So you'll be climbing with safety, those follow rescues that we talked about. So you'll be climbing with your hands and feet, but there'll be a system so we can move you up it. But it's long. It's several hundred feet long, 300 or 400 feet long, longer than a normal climbing thing.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a really nice place. There's still some debate whether it's going to be two of the team or the whole team. So we have to wait on that, kind of seeing how we get it rigged. But that's just going to be great. We've really loved exploring it. Like, that's where my kids did their first multi-pitch climb, and they're like 3, or they were 4 and 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah. And they had some tension on there. I could just pull them up the rock, but it's a great place. If you like climbing, you'll absolutely love it, and it'll feel really easy. If you're nervous, you'll get through it, and you'll just be amazed at the views and the exposure that you get on really quite easy and safe terrain.
Yeah, it's relatively low angle.
Yeah, and then you get more awesome mountain biking, more single track mountain biking, more ridge single track mountain biking, and then more descending.
Yeah, more descending.
Which, you're going to descend a lot on your bikes, which means you should come with good brakes.
Yeah, come with fresh brakes.
Yeah, definitely come with fresh brakes. Otherwise,
especially when you're biking with your pack raft on the back and descending, or on your bike and descending, that's really hard on your brakes. You're going to be loaded heavy for a lot of the event.
Yeah.
For
that one bike ride. Yeah.
Not for this last section, but you wanna make sure you still have something left over by the last section.
Right. And the great thing is that bike ride ends with a screaming fast, fun descent right to the paddle put-in. And that paddle put-in, won't go into the details, but a few people have asked, like, the last leg is a paddle, and the last leg starts with a guided paddle on class 4 or 5 whitewater.
Yeah.
And you will have the opportunity, clearly that's not going to happen during the daytime.
Right.
It's not going to happen at night.
It's not going to happen at night.
Yeah.
This is our one dark zone.
Yeah.
For the race.
There will be, a place, you'll have some bins, you'll have a paddle bag, so if you need to sleep, if teams need to sleep, that's great. We've talked with the referee and ARWS, because we don't want to have the dark zone impact the race as much as it would if it was just a completely neutral dark zone and teams piled up there, because we also can't really race. The guys are super excited to go fast and to race, right? Because they're going to be doing turnarounds. But there will be a staggered system, which means, we saw this in Godzone a couple years ago, the New Zealand race, is normally now in ARWS, dark zones are neutral, which means you don't get any time credit. You show up at the dark zone, you just get extra sleep.
Right.
This is close enough to the end of the race that doesn't really make sense. So we will stagger start teams. We haven't decided the exact timing.
Yeah, it's not a 1-to-1 stagger.
No, it'll probably be you get 10 minutes for every hour you come in, ahead of the nearest team. Yeah. And that should be plenty unless you do something like flip your boat or have a catastrophe or whatever. You will get more sleep, so you'll be fresh. And there is several hours of paddling after you get out of your guided boats, but we don't want to make it so that a team that pushes hard to get to the dark zone first feels like they don't get some advantage for that other than sleep. So there will be, we'll clearly lay that out in the rules, so you have that expectation if it's worth it to go extra hard or if you're fine, just rolling in. But we will make that super clear, and then as teams get more toward the back of the pack, we won't be holding on to that. We'll just be doing that as a time credit because we want them to be able to get through that section.
Got to be able to finish the race.
Yeah, and it's not a hugely long paddle stage, but a lot can still happen. I mean, it's class 4 or 5 whitewater in a canyon into class probably 2, 3 minus whitewater in your pack rafts, also in a canyon, right? With a couple of mandatory portages, with lines on the side. Like it's real.
Some technical rapids.
Yeah, real terrain into a paddle back to the start line. Because if you've been paying attention, you started on one side of the Columbia, and now you're on the other side of the Columbia, right? And now you have to get back across the Columbia to the start line.
Yeah, can't take the bridge.
Right, so one more time you will be paddling the iconic Columbia River to finish smack dab in kind of the heart of the Columbia Gorge at Hood River. They're probably, and all the finishes will be in daytime, maybe in the evening, maybe right at dusk, but you'll be paddling, if it's windy, you'll be paddling through this sea of like adventure sports addicts with wings,
kites, sails,
sups, surf skis, just this mass. It's awesome of just bright colors. So, you know, there is I hope it's not going to happen. Knock on wood. I'm going to find some wood. Like I just had this vision of like the winning team paddling across the Columbia. They can see it's a mile away. They can see the famous Expedition Oregon beautiful wooden arch that was handmade with the, you know, paddling, and some errant learning, you know, wing foiler with the foil board with the little fin thing on the bottom, and the board like floats out of the waters, like coming and trying to do a little boost into the air, but just slices right through the middle of their pack raft, and they just sink in the middle of the Columbia on their way to victory. So yeah, it's the last challenge is like, don't get hit.
The newbies shouldn't be in that area, so don't worry about it too much. But
right, but that's just like my. But if that happens, we will be there to film it. I hope.
Yeah, we might not be there with the boat, but we'll be there to film it. Yeah, we'll have safety boats.
But no, we have been practicing how to, you know, if it is really windy and stormy, you know, we have a system for you know, getting people to move forward. We have a lot of contingency plans because this is a pretty big course, potentially impacted by the wind and the weather.
Yeah. The wind and the weather will make a huge, and the smoke will make a huge difference in how the course.
Right now, it's been great with smoke. You know, this area is always prone to wildfires in the summer, but everything's looking pretty good right now. We'll keep people updated on that, but keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Right. And just in general, don't go out and have campfires and not put them out. It's hard. I do it all the time. I can't with my kids, and they're like, you know, just douse those fires. Like, don't
douse the fires, and in fact, or you know, right now, maybe just don't set a fire.
Yeah.
There'll be time for that in the spring and the fall.
Put on a fleece. They're cozy. Okay. Anything else for the race? We don't want to give too much away, but that's like it's a big course. Very doable. Top times, we think 4 days.
4 days.
4.5 days.
Yeah, I think 4 days, 4.5 days.
Yeah, like that.
I had kind of thought 3 days, but looking at the course again and kind of what we've got, I think 4 days.
And we'll be honest, there are a few of the sections that we have vetted without pack rafts on our bikes.
Yeah.
Right. So we know that when you put a pack raft on your bike, that might slow you down a little bit.
Yeah.
We would strongly recommend that you think about how you're going to put your pack rafts on your bikes. If you put them in a backpack, that's fine. It just makes it a little heavier.
Yeah, it makes it your body
it's
work
only
more.
about 3 hours of riding with your pack raft for a fast team.
Fast time, yeah.
About 3 hours of riding with carrying your pack raft, which is not nothing, but it's not forever. But you should also consider both for the pack raft trek and the, you know, when you have your pack raft on your bike, that it's great to just have it on there, but like you don't want to wear a hole in your pack raft, or worst case, you don't want to be bombing down this beautiful gravel road and like hit a corner too fast and then lose and like crash with your pack raft just on the front without it wrapped in any sort of bag or anything, and then like pepper it with holes.
Yeah, I always ride with my pack raft just on the front without a bag, but if you know that you have poor self-control and just can't help yourself descending on amazing gravel, maybe put it in a dry bag.
Right. Yeah, if you're gonna crash, or if you're one of those people that is kind of fast and loose, we know those people.
Yeah.
That really like those descents, because we just wrote a big section of it yesterday, and in some of the descents, some of the single tracks, some of the gravel stuff, we were like, oh, this is really fun to go fast on, but you're not gonna win the race with your team by descending a few percent faster than somebody else, but you could very, very easily lose the race.
Especially if 3 of you bomb down and the one person with a pack raft slides out, and now you've got to go back and find them.
And it's worth practicing with the pack raft because it does change the dynamics of a mountain bike, like if you put it on the front or on the back. The other thing to note is we now know, if you've been paying attention to AR, like in top level teams in the last couple races, there have been accidents.
Yeah.
Descending on bikes. Right, Arkansas. There was another one recently too, but oh my god!
I turned that off.
I did. It should be. Sorry, everybody. Amateur. Okay, I just had to do that still. But that was my wife probably saying, "Hey, where are you guys?
Yeah.
Let's go."
Oh yeah, it's burrito time.
It is burrito time because there's a oh yeah, you know what you're gonna get at the finish if you're coming. Come on, classic Expedition Oregon. You're going to get these massive finish line burritos. Mm-hmm. So we have to test them, right?
Yeah, we've got to test. We're testing the whole course.
The competitors are also going to get. I think every team is going to get a bottle of wine from a local Columbia Gorge winery. We tested that yesterday.
Yeah, we're working on that.
But listen, if you totally get it, like we know athletes, they don't like alcohol, so just. If you don't want your bottle of wine, you can just leave it with us.
Yeah, someone will take care of it.
Yeah, we'll take care of it for you. So just consider that.
Yeah, I know we got to wrap up soon, but I kind of wanted to touch base on our bivy emergency blanket.
Oh yeah. We'll do that really quick. So we did just send out a thing, and we've made some decisions. One of the great things about being a race and directing your own race is you can make your own choices, and when you think things are silly, you can change them.
Yeah, maybe silly. Maybe it's just like
or silly for our particular race.
Doesn't fit.
Yeah,
is the politically correct way of saying silly.
Yeah. So we have decided a few things for this race in particular. One is that you racers, and maybe this will become the standard. I don't know. Maybe everybody will think we're done for doing this.
Maybe.
So that's fine.
I guess we'll let us know at the end of the race.
We have never, in the last many years, used a space blanket.
Alex has,
but Alex turns it into underwear, and that's mostly for a fashion statement. Like, let's be honest. You can watch the videos. Look at some of the old 2016 Patagonia videos. He's so proud of himself for turning space blanket into underwear. It chafes. It's just like, but it is sexy. But space blankets, like, we are now required to carry other things which are better than space blankets, like breathable, waterproof bivy sacks. Right.
It's not that space blankets don't have their place and aren't useful,
but they are redundant, and they are less useful than the other things that we have to carry, and less durable. So we've decided that we are waiving the space blanket requirement for this race.
Per competitor.
We are requiring there to be one per team, and we'd like that to be in the first aid kit, because really what you're going to use a space blanket for is if somebody is in shock after an injury and they need to be wrapped in a space blanket, shoved in a bivy sack, or maybe 2 bivy sacks, and then a rescue call, right? And that's what they're good for. They're not good for sleeping. Anybody that's ever like, ooh, we're going to bivy, pull out my space blanket. Like, it just turns you into a soggy mess, and you'd rather not do that. So we do have the bivy sack requirements. They have to be a certain weight. They have to be waterproof, breathable. There's a lot of those out there. Aiden Gear makes them now that zip together, which we love, so that you get to share the body heat. So that's a unique thing to this race. We're also allowing, what are we allowing?
Wow, which part? The emergency. Oh yeah, we're allowing rain skirts, of course.
Yeah. So
in fact, Jason wanted us to require rain skirts,
but Darren drew the line somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be a little shady business practice unless you're handing them out. Here's your rain skirt. But I will say that the photographers love rain skirts, and so we're more likely to post your photo on Adventure Racing World Series media coverage of the event, which is going to be huge, if you're in a rain skirt, just because you kind of look like this weird cross between a hobo and a badass adventure.
Like a Celtic racer.
Yeah, like a Celtic racer. So, rain skirts are legal as your shell bottom. And anything else and we are not requiring a tent or a shelter.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't bring one. It's just we think that you can make that decision on your own.
Right, and we recommend that you at least bring one to the race so you can assess that, maybe put it in a bin, which all that happens. But realistically, we find that and we don't think this should be a rule across. Like there are plenty of races where the stages are long enough or remote
or in
enough,
bad weather,
or the rescue is hard enough or bad weather that tents or bothy bags should be a absolute requirement.
Just for this event, what we're doing.
With the probable temperature range, with the probability of like big rainstorms, and the terrain, like if we were going to do this event as a team and we had the option to not take a shelter, we would not take a shelter.
Yeah.
And we would feel very safe in doing so. That said, it's a great thing to bring in case things change or the weather forecast is bad, so you might as well bring it to the race, but we've made the decision to not require it on any leg of this race, so it will not be on the mandatory gear.
Yep.
Other than that, this is more just a general thing because we know there's going to be a lot of armchair people following. We do invite you to follow us. We have a great media team coming. We're going to do our best to have commentators that are actually also top racers. They just can't be racing.
Yeah. And we're going to try and have enough communication so that when when your grandma writes on the bottom of our Facebook post, hey, how is Team Supernova doing? We haven't heard about them in a while. That we can actually respond to that instead of just having it out there in the ether.
Yeah.
So we're going to try
hold
to
us to that. We might fail, but we
Yeah.
really do want to have good communication between the fans, the maps, and we're just really excited. It's been really fun watching the races unfold this year. We've been following as many of them as we can. We're really excited about the building energy in the World Series and these big expeditions. We're really excited to move from this, succeed here and then go to the Magnificent in New Zealand and then come back and host a 2025 Expedition Oregon in a very unique area with more climbing, with more epic single track, with more awesome whitewater in a very different environment than this. So just kind of keep things rolling.
Yeah.
And
good.
to race, what's your next race?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe Two Rivers, right?
Oh yeah, Two Rivers and La Pine are my next short races.
Yeah. It's always fun to race after you put on races because it's so much easier.
Yeah, way less pressure.
Yeah, I have to set the time, but that's fun. I've done that for years. It's fun to watch you race, and you're the defending.
Yeah, did we win the last one? I think so. Yeah.
You and Jason?
No, it was Was Jason Knight, did we win last year?
I think so. Anyway,
we're either defending champions or defending runner-up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well that's enough for now. I'm sure that most people are probably swooning after looking at your face for half an hour, right?
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, that's it. We're gonna go meet with our team. We have a lot more work to do.
Yeah, tons of work to do.
And I'll close this. Hey, we've been looking at the computer. Hey, camera.
Yeah.
That's it. Ben Race Podcast, Expedition Oregon update. This was supposed to be the state of AR, but really, come on.
It's the state of
right now, Expedition Oregon should be the state of AR. It's the next big race. It's awesome local races, but on the world stage, Expedition Oregon.
Yeah.
Follow it. We love you guys. Thanks. See you later.
Yep.
Cut, Keegan, cut! Where's our media intern? Oh, is he playing video games?